How's it going, everybody? I hope you are doing well. In today's video, I want to address a question that I get from almost all of my private students in one form or another, which is what exactly makes a good guitar exercise and what should I be focusing on when I'm practicing? So let's dive right into it. Just about every exercise that I design, whether it is for myself or for a student, is almost always based on something that I've experienced out in the wild in the real world. And what I mean by that is that I will hear a musical sound that intrigues me and grabs me emotionally, and then I'll try to figure out how to break that apart and understand how that sound works. And then develop a method for practicing it. And you should be aiming to do the same thing with your own practice routine. I found that most great guitar exercises are efficient and effective because they address multiple aspects of musicianship at the same time. So if I'm building an exercise to improve my own playing or addressing a question that a student has, there are 7 different areas of musicianship that I try to touch on, as many of them simultaneously as possible. The first one being, does the exercise engage your mind and force you to use your brain? Okay, this is the intellect part of learning an exercise. Every great exercise should be based on some kind of musical principle or musical concept, no matter how simple or complex that might be. And you should have a pretty good understanding of what that idea is before you even grab your instrument. If you have a basic musical principle that you're studying, this helps you avoid, grabbing the instrument and just meandering around with no sense of direction or purpose. Now, the principle you're working on might be melodic, it might be rhythmic, it might be harmonic, but you should at least have a goal that you're aiming for to try to work on so that you have a sense of intentionality with your practice. Once you know what that principle is, of course, then you want to put it on the fretboard. So the second question is, does the exercise you're working on force you to apply some kind of musical knowledge and put it in action on the neck? Because any piece of musical information that you study doesn't really have any value unless you can actually apply that principle to the fretboard. So you want to be able to visualize the concept that you're studying and immediately put it to work on the neck. This also means that you have to have a certain level of physical ability. In other words, does the exercise force you to engage both hands, okay? Great exercises usually have a technical component to it. So there should be a challenge for both hands in terms of, developing physical growth and also developing coordination. Hand in hand with that, what is the rhythmic aspect of the exercise? And does it force you to engage your internal clock and your internal pulse? Great exercises should have a rhythmic component, and it should challenge you as far as your accuracy of rhythmic placements, the locations of rhythmic sounds, as well as the accuracy of durations or the length of rhythmic sounds. Then we have ear training, and this is the one that people tend to forget about. A lot of times we get so stuck on technique and chops and everything else that we forget that great exercises should engage your ears and focus your listening skills. Great exercises should always have a ear training component. Now, that might be rhythmic ear training, it might be melodic, it might be harmonic, or kind of some combination of those. The idea is that once you understand the principle or concept that you're trying to get better at, you need to be able to recognize the sound of that principle by ear. If somebody comes to me and says, I've been working on studying my sus2 chords, and they're memorizing a bunch of different shapes and patterns, that's one thing, but can you recognize a sus2 chord by ear and just recognize that there's a very unique sound to that actual musical principle? Okay, so when we're dealing with ear training, we're moving beyond just the technical or physical aspects, and we're trying to get the sound of our concept inside of our ears. And that goes hand in hand with the emotional aspect and the feeling recognition that you have to engage with, as far as, can you interpret the sounds you're hearing as actual emotions? Okay, emotional training should be part of every exercise that you do. We're trying to, once again, go beyond the tactile aspect of an exercise, and we're really trying to get the feeling of whatever the principle or concept is that we're studying inside of you. It's kind of hand in hand with ear training, but you want to recognize sounds, once again, not only by their characteristic perception through your ears, but what it makes you feel like. When you hear certain dissonant chords, that's going to make you feel something, and you should be able to describe exactly what that emotion is. The final aspect is the creativity training part, and I think this is the most important aspect of any exercise. Does it force you to engage your problem-solving skills and discover more about yourself? Okay, every time you do an exercise, if it's a valuable one, you should be forced to create something new with it, and it doesn't matter how simple or complex that something new is. But a great exercise should be more than just imitating or copying something. It should lead to innovation and personal growth. For me personally, the best exercises help me identify the problem areas of my own playing. And then you discover more as far as if you really develop this concept, you discover more about yourself and your own style and the way that you learn and how to best navigate your own personal journey. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that a great exercise will be efficient and effective if it hits on multiple areas of musicianship at the same time. With that being said, keep in mind that not every exercise is going to hit all 7 of these things at the same time. There are plenty of great exercises to work on that are more area specific. In other words, just rhythm or just technique or just ear training. And those are just as important in the bigger picture for your overall musical development, but the best examples are always going to check multiple boxes at the same time. Engage your brain, put that concept on the fretboard, get your hands to physically perform it, do it in time, train your ears, train your motions, and then try to do something new and exciting with that information. I'm going to post the PDF outline of this in the group so that you guys can download this and use it kind of like a checklist to go through and make sure that you are not wasting your time when you're practicing. And if you're hitting only one of these things individually at a time, that's fine, but you really want to start to find ways to do all of these things, or at least several of them simultaneously, to get the most out of your practice time and to get the best results. Any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll see you next time.